Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Real People Podcast. We're taking a bit of a step back from the serious topics. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. Here I am in my lovely Giants gear. I'm here to talk to two of my Eagles fans friends. I believe in therapy. I believe in camaraderie and friendship. Let's say hi to Tony and Brett. Tony and Brett, hello. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Tony's speaking
I
for
mean, you said not serious topics,
I was
but
going to say
Yeah,
it's
no.
pretty serious for
it's
us.
very serious.
but
I mean, maybe that's why we didn't make the Super Bowl,
I
because
was
we
going
didn't
to
take it
say
seriously.
maybe as a Giants fan, it's hard to understand what it would be like. It's been so long since you've been in an important game that maybe you forgot.
I'm
these
going
things
to take
count.
that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to internalize it, and I'm going to use your therapy against you, and that's fine. First and foremost, I want to thank Tony and Brett for coming on. We're shooting this on Tuesday, literally 40 hours after the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying this to poke fun. I'm saying this completely sincerely. I think if it was me, I would have made up some excuse not to come on this podcast, not to talk to anyone, and just go into a cave until September when the next season started. So I want to thank Tony and Brett for just coming on, having the cojones to talk football. So guys, usually I'm very
First
open.
of all, I would argue sorry to interrupt, Dan.
Go. Right.
I prefer talking football after a loss as opposed to after a win. And I don't know if Brett feels this way. But,
I'm the opposite.
but
I'm sure. I'll
Really?
I'll take my lumps, but Dan might remember this from high school. I like to talk shit, so this year has been like a godsend. I've just been running my mouth. All my friends are from home, are fans of the Giants, so this has been great. So
That's great.
I'll take my licks here. Although only Chiefs fans can talk to us, is how I still feel.
And that's true. I mean, and that's how I felt about that's how I felt for a while. Like as a Giants fan, I was like, all right, unless you're a Patriots fan or a Chiefs fan, you can't say a damn thing to me. And the Eagles are rapidly approaching, and that makes me lose sleep at night. And you think I'm joking. So let's talk about the game really fast. Brett, give me your quick reactions.
So this is all. I have like text to prove it. I have a big chat, as most of us guys do. All our friends from home, whatever. All I said from the rip was all I wanted was that I thought it would come down to whoever had the ball last. I didn't know who that would be. I didn't know if Hurts or whoever would do well. All I said was I hope it comes down to one. Whoever has the ball last should win because that means they're going to make some crazy drive, and we had it. And I'm not saying this as an Eagle fan, as a sport fan. If you're gonna call holdings, call them the whole game. If you're like, don't call and not because we lost, because we still could have lost. I just want give Hurts the ball. Just can we have 1 minute left for the world to have seen what that would have been, and it feels cheap. So,
And I'm going to
thought
push
it was
up
such a-
Tony because I'm going to say, even as a Giants fan, I have to agree with that point, and I'm sure Tony, you're going to echo that. Like they usually let it play most of the game. I think it was a holding. I mean, James
Sure.
Crowder said it was a holding.
sure.
But you're going to call that in the last 2 minutes of the game. I think you're 100% entitled to your fury. Tony, your reactions.
No, I'm going to say what you guys didn't think. I think it totally was a penalty, and I'm not that surprised that they called it. And I don't like to be the kind of fan who complains about the refs, but it was just such an emotional buzzkill. Like, nobody in America wanted to watch that. It sucked for everybody. I mean, all my NFL fans, like, overall, broadly speaking. Brett, you do bring up a big point about just being consistent, and that is really important. But I do think there is, fans do, in the general sense, overreact to the thing, let them play because it's the end. Because I think that can cause problems in the NFL. Like, players shouldn't know that they could get away with something just because there's 2 minutes left or whatever. Now, if he doesn't hold him there, I think that Juju is catching that ball and he sits down at the 2-yard line and they kick the field goal to win anyway. Like it was a penalty, I just think it sucks.
I don't see. I
It
don't.
really sucks.
Let me just be clear. I don't think we lost because of that play because we had 58 other
Yeah.
minutes in the game. My whole point was, and you're right. And there is what you just said. There is something. Remember the Saints game a few years ago when that wideout got absolutely leveled and they didn't call it, and they
Terrible,
even said
yeah.
we were afraid to ruin the game. And this feels like the
Yeah,
overreaction.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
I just want to
Yeah.
be clear. I'm not saying we lost.
And that's
because of
where
that.
the rule started from that moment, if I
Yeah.
recall.
All
Yeah.
I wanted was call
Yeah.
it because everyone who plays the sport knows you're playing how the ref is going to call it. If they're calling this, he's not going to put his arms. And yes, can we also be clear? In this day and age where we slow everything down to a safe frame, yes, it was a flag. When you watch that in real time, listen to what the guys on Fox said. They're like, man, I don't even see it. Yeah, of course, when you slow down, it's like, what? But like, was that a Super Bowl defining flag? No.
And it was the slightest of hip. I mean, it was the slightest of tugs or
and watch that play again. If you watch that play again, people always want to stop. Watch the play out. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who laid him out a few plays before, was coming screaming over and was right there. I'm not saying he does, but like the fact that to say that he just catches that ball, Juju Smith is not a good player. Let's not act like he's freaking Smitty or Brown. I'm not so sure he catches that, and I just wish we would have known, I guess, is my big point. We won't ever know.
Something interesting about this Super Bowl is that some people said, it's one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time.
It was until the end. It
was a great game.
Yeah, just because of how high scoring and close it was. But it weirdly didn't have, like, a great play. Like the A.J. Brown touchdown catch was great. But, like, Brett and I remember 5 years ago, the Brandon Graham strap, the fumble. I mean, that was just epic. I want to have a picture framed of that. And, like, Mahomes is brilliant and Reed is brilliant, but the Chiefs didn't have an offensive play where it was like, helmet catch.
Here's a fun fact that kind of goes on what you said. The Chiefs are the first team of all time to win a Super Bowl without a pass or without a play longer than 22 yards. So everything they did was little dink and dunk. The biggest play was you're right. Yeah. It was Brown had one big play, and I'm sorry, Smith had one. Smith had that long bomb when he lost his balance. But yeah, it didn't feel like such an offensive onslaught. But I did hear that too. That's why people are so upset that could have been the greatest game. It really could have been if we would have known.
That Goddard catch. I mean, man.
Yeah, that was the best offense. I mean, like we as Eagles fans know who these players are. We know how awesome Jalen is. We know how awesome Goddard is. But I mean, Brett, I don't know. Like, did you feel like you learned more about those two guys? Like, these are clutch balls.
No,
like Jalen.
This is like if we want to talk about what good came out of this game. I said this prior. I've been saying this for now a while. If you don't, because just for fans who watch, I live in Philly. I'm in South Philly. I'm 2 train stops away from the fucking link. I'm there 5 times a year. I'm here. I'm in. If you're not watching,
Philly was going to become Mordor. So I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, if you don't watch our team every week, I think it's real quick to just see stats and go, Hurts only threw for 140 yards. But when you watch, I'm so glad though, 110 million got to see Smith, who, by the way, the Eagles stole from the Giants. Don't ever forget that.
It's my jersey, by the way.
Gettleman leaked it. And the Eagles.
Gettleman told everybody in the world he was taking.
Yeah, and we traded with the Cowboys a pick right before you. And who was the pick after you guys picked Tony?
Micah.
So that's just well. I was so glad the world.
That's our Jalen Rager.
Yeah. So I'm so glad the world got to see.
We all got one.
Yeah. I'm glad the world got to see Smith. Smith's my favorite guy. All those sideline catches. He does that every week, like toe tap over the shoulder. Dallas Goddard in traffic. I'm glad finally everyone was like, "Oh, hey, whoa, these guys!" It's like we're better than I think people think we are.
And
right.
You know what I was a bit annoyed by, and because I have friends everywhere, but they're not Eagles fans; they're NFL fans, and I often on my podcast I talk about to NFL fans, and I really hated how we had to beat the Niners with their freaking non-quarterback, and then their other non-quarterback behind it, and everyone's like, Eagles, whatever. So it's like. We really didn't have a ton of respect over this year. We had a really easy schedule compared to other teams, whatever. And so it was nice to go.
Hold on, we had the same exact schedule as the Cowboys, but all year I heard how they're going to win the Super Bowl and Eagles are soft. So there is a feeling.
Dallas media.
There is a thing about us. No one likes us. So it's the sports world, all these talking head shows. It's easy when we win to say Philly fans are the best. But really, they don't want us to win. They don't like us. We literally, our whole motto.
Usually I try to be a nice guy about this, but yes.
Yeah.
It's
so,
true.
I think there is a weird thing to that we and back to your point, we didn't just play the Niners with a hurt quarterback. We injured both of them. That's how good we were. We were sacking them so much that they didn't come in there with hurt quarterbacks. We knocked them all out of the game. We should get some.
Initially hearing that, I don't know if that's a point of pride, but I know what you're saying.
I don't listen, but I'm not saying I don't want them to get hurt. But this,
what is this, 1997?
But this whole, there's this whole talking point that we walked to the Super Bowl. No, we stomped our way over these guys.
No, I mean, that's what, like, just to, like, broaden out here, like, about the Eagles, like, this is what's so depressing about this loss is that, man, like, we won 2 playoff games by 20-plus points.
And everyone goes,
we had the easiest schedule in the league. Yeah, we had 22 starters. Like, this was the year. Like, yeah, we could win the Super Bowl next year, the year after, but, like, this was the opportunity.
But
we came really, really close.
Can I ask you now,
dominant
as a fan,
this year.
As a fan who watched Hurts all year, I love Hurts. What he did in the bowl, I don't think I knew he could do that. To see him do that on that stage, does that not give you a little hope that we got a guy?
I have a ton of hope about our young offense, for sure.
Let me interject on that, because you talk about Jalen Hurts, and he looked, I mean,
he outplayed Patrick Mahomes.
If it wasn't Mahomes MVP, it was Hurts MVP. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, how you had Jalen Hurts? He was a fringe quarterback last year. I mean, he did not have this promising career ahead of him. I mean, he used to throw like 2 picks a game, and this year is just a whole new Jalen Hurts. Just, I mean, I think dominance an understatement. Like, you just look at the Eagles.
He's always here, Dan. We're in the Super Bowl. We are down 8. And how did he respond? He ran right down the field, scored, and he converted he converted. It's like he does this all year. There's something.
He converted
crazy.
The octopus.
The octopus is when you score it.
Yeah. My friend made a bet on the octopus. You score a touchdown, and then you do the 2-point conversion.
But
Brett, were you, like, exactly a year ago from now, what side were you on Jalen? Because the entire offseason of last year was like, well, he's not the answer.
I was on the.
Were you on board or not?
Okay, so we live in this world now, especially if you're a top pick or if you're a guy people think should have been, but it is not. Once you are what you are, you can never not be that. So if you're Pat Mahomes and you're drafted high and you have your first year is really good, even after every year, say you start doing bad, they'd always go, he's really good.
Like Carson.
With Wentz. Wentz always, he's still getting jobs, still. This idea,
getting jobs.
And Dan, kind of back to the point that you made. As a fan of the Giants, you watch Daniel Jones all of a sudden become a better player. Why? Because your coaching staff worked with him and they found what works. And I don't know if he works as hard as Hurts, and that's not a slight to the guy in the Giants. No. There is players are allowed to learn and get the better. Last year, our hideouts were Jalen Reagor, a rookie Smith, JJ Arcega-Whiteside, and people are like, Hurts can't throw. It's like, well, who is he throwing to?
Right.
That does count a little bit.
Right.
It's not just AJ. Smith was a rookie too, and then like any rookie,
bring up Josh Allen looked terrible when he came out of the draft.
And now he had Stephon Diggs.
Diggs gets traded. All of a sudden, he's now the best player.
And that's a great segue. Tony, we talked a lot about this on and I want to plug Tony's podcast, and we'll link for it. He has the Exit Space podcast. I love meeting
Eagles Tuesdays podcast.
Oh, Eagles Tuesdays. You'll notice that I have trouble saying that as a Giants fan. Eagles Tuesdays podcast. Definitely.
It's a weird day for football, but anyway, thanks, Dan.
It is Tuesday. But I mean, how? And I say this tongue in cheek. I say this jokingly, but like, how does any GM trade with Howie Roseman from now until the end of time? He's just going to fleece you.
It's not a joke, Dan. I say this. If he ever calls me, I'm never answering.
Well, there's as fans, we like to think of it like who got fleeced, like who got the better end of the deal. But I like to think of it in like a more boring way, which is like if you're trading, each team's kind of getting something. So
right. And think about this: there's only 32 of these jobs in the entire world. You got to be the best of the best at what you do. These guys all think he ain't gonna fleece me. I'm me, and then they meet Howie, and I'm sure Howie Roseman back in the day he got fleeced a lot too.
Why in the world would I don't want to get on the top of the Titans too much, but why in the world would the Titans give up A.J. Brown,
Bad
who was
trade.
developing.
They said it kind of. They thought they could draft. They got that guy. I forgot. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Treylon Burks.
Burks, right?
They
Traylon
got
Burks from
him. They
Arkansas,
signed some
yeah.
dude, and they said, "Well, we think we could get around the same." And we all knew that was wrong. And on our side, we gave away a first-round pick. We had 4 of them. It didn't even count.
It's like when we play fantasy football, and our best player has one off week, and out of spite, we're like, all right, you're cut.
And
like it was the equivalent of that.
It was wild. He didn't. I'm sorry. He didn't even get signed for a lot. I don't think. For what Tyreek Hill got $40 million a year. He got 24. That's not a bad deal. I don't think that's a pretty reason. He's 26, right? So.
I was waiting for the draft, and a friend texted me like A.J. Brown. I was like, A.J. Brown's not in the draft. Wait, A.J. Brown. And I was like, and all the math, and I was like, oh my god, that's the most brilliant thing that he's ever done. And I never considered it. I mean, he's big, he's fast, he's a version of T.O. And then I look up his age. I'm like, isn't he 23? And I'm like, yes, he's freaking 24.
And what's the most important thing, Dad? You asked, how did Hurts make this jump? Who is Hurts' best friend before he came into the league?
I don't know.
A.J. Brown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They're best friends. They talk every day on the phone. The Eagles found this out and said, "Hey, what if we bring in Hurts' boy? Will that help?"
It's the Jamar Chase.
Exactly, but it works though, right? So this is good. You ask how Hurts got better. I mean, we surrounded him with all pro talent. It's not a slight to Hurts.
And going back to how Rose been fleecing people, why would the Saints ever give up CJ?
We have a 10th pick, yeah.
Do it. Like Brett said, Tony. If Howie Roseman calls, just hit ignore. You don't know what
something that comes from the Andy Reid years, and by the way, it sucks losing a Super Bowl, but it felt worse losing to Belichick and Brady in 04 than Andy.
In a month, I love
Andy.
I like Mahomes. Yeah. I love Reid. I love
Travis
Kelce.
Yeah.
So once the heat goes away, there couldn't be a team that I could handpick that I would rather.
They also deserve it. They deserve another Super Bowl within this last 5-6 years stretch.
It's actually funny, Brett. I went on Tony's podcast, and I stupidly, as a Giants fan, me being stupid, I said, what happens if the Eagles play the Jaguars in the Super Bowl? It's going to be Doug Peterson. And Tony he lovingly corrected me. He said, no, Doug's nice, but the emotional attachment.
You don't love Doug like that, yeah.
No, I mean, Andy is the beginning of the modern Eagles and the modern NFL in so many ways. I mean, and for the Eagles, he was it's all about the line. We have been building along both lines for years. That's all we do.
I was going to say, look at what we do now. It's the Andy Reid model. And you're right. It's what the NFL, most smart teams do, build the lines. This is something Reid did here. It's 2023, and we're doing it still. So clearly, whatever the hell Reid did for us, it's still here. So, I don't think, there's not a fan in Philly that has any bad feeling.
We've got a couple minutes left, and I want to ask a couple quick questions. I'm sure you guys saw today the news that you went from 2 coordinators to no coordinators in the span of hours. Give me your rapid fire thoughts. Tony, go ahead.
Well, one thing about being a football fan is you change your mind a lot, and I've always been a defender of Gannon because I always thought there was a hashtag. There's just a hashtag fire Gannon hashtag.
That's me. That started from me.
If you let me continue, I thought that was so stupid. I'm like, dude, number one pass defense, whatever. And then the Super Bowl happens, and then I'm listening to other podcasts, specifically Ben Stolak's talking about how bad we are. He's excellent. Yeah.
Anytime we play a quarterback who's mediocre, we get effing historically.
And it's because he sells out to stop the pass so that we don't. And it doesn't matter about the run or whatever. But when you play such an excellent quarterback, and I'm sorry, but we didn't really play good quarterbacks this year.
Did you hear what the Chiefs players said after when it was done? They asked them, "Well, how did you keep running that same play right to the out?"
Yeah,
and they all laughed and go, "Oh, we know Gannon wasn't going to adjust. We just did some motion. They ran the same play to each side, and they're smiling and I'm at home going, "Yeah, I knew that too." He's
not going to do the in game.
Listen. I was at the Giant game during
you started the Fire Gannon.
It's a joke, but I've been on this since last year. When we were at I was at the Giants game against in the playoffs. We were up by 100 points, and I'm literally furious. And I'm like, Gannon's not. We're doing this, and they're like, bro, we're up 30. I'm like, yeah, but this isn't going to work against anyone else. And thank God, it's he cannot. listen, Eagles go to Super Bowl, you're going to lose your coordinators. Shane's, he's great. When he calls plays, his timing is, I've never seen a guy know when to call a play. John Gannon, though, thank you for what you did. It's time for some fresh air. We also have a lot of young good guys on the staff that could be really good. So it's not the end of the world.
Well, John Gannon,
and it's kind of hard to remember.
Brett has lovingly let you go. Tony,
I was going to say,
defender.
What I was going to say is that I was a defender until earlier today, and I started to mull on it in the Super Bowl, and I was like, oh, he sucks. And then half an hour later, I heard he was gone, and I was like, I have mixed feelings about this.
Think about what he did, Tony. We will never have that stacked of a team ever again.
I mean, and you don't get that many sacks.
If Gannon, here we go. Mahomes had 6 incompletions all game. One of them he threw it away. All right, they didn't punt once in the second half. So if that's what he's doing with the all-time sack team and CJ and James Bradbury and Slay, what's he going to do when we have half of those guys?
Like last year,
which was brutal. Oh my god,
right? Yeah. No, I mean, next year, I'm seeing we got young, exciting talent on offense. I think the defense is going to be a whole different team.
I think
new
the Super
coaches,
Bowl
11 different players.
That's my closing question for your therapy session, gentlemen. Is what do you know, fellow Nostradamuses think for next year?
Well, I'll start on a glum note, and then hopefully Brett will bring us up. But there's no way that we're going to be as good, record-wise, and the reason why is because our schedule and the fact that we're not going to have all these. We're going to have more injuries next year. Absolutely, I think we're a playoff. Yeah, absolutely, I think we're going to be a playoff team. But the likely first game of the season is going to be Eagles at Chiefs. Our schedule will come out this year.
Yeah.
And that stuff really matters. And I'm really excited to have 2 first-round draft picks and everything like that. And I'm not being a Debbie Downer. We're going to miss the playoffs, so we're not going to be this year's Bucks or this year's Rams. I think we'll be more like this year's Bengals. We're still going to be a solid, awesome team with a great young quarterback and a great young offensive core. There's just a lot of balls in the air. We came
Bengals
close.
Who were Bengals who were an unnecessary roughness away from making the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Sounds like a conspiracy to me, Dan. I don't know. Every time the Chiefs need a little help, I don't know.
Wish we faced them instead of KC.
I think we're still a 10 to 12 win team. Tony brings up an amazing point. No one get this. All 22 of our starters started in the Super Bowl. It's the first time that's ever happened. We had the most unbelievable luck with no one getting really hurt. So that's a very good point. Someone's going to get hurt. Hurts, though, what he showed me, the way he responded after the game, saying, we have a choice of if we're going to let this be the thing that makes us sad, if we're going to learn about why we if Hurts is the guy, I also like what you said, we are the Bengals, and that we could be 8-9 or 12-4. In the playoffs, you do not want to play us. And I think we are going to start with Jalen Hurts. We're going to be.
I said it was the last question, but I lied. My 2 last questions to both of you. One's a yes or a no, and I'll leave a little room for interpretation. Would the Eagles have beaten the Bengals?
That's again any given. Yes.
I'd say yes. I mean, the Chiefs are a kind of team, and I mean, Eagles fans what did the Eagles do to lose this game? But the Chiefs are one of the only teams that
beat us.
Can be down 10 points at halftime,
and beat us,
and you expect them to win.
And Hurts was they would throw a punch, and Hurts would throw. It's the Chiefs didn't. We didn't lose the game. The Chiefs beat us.
That's what,
100%.
And I think we play them 10 times, 5 times they win, 5 times they win. Yeah.
I love the humility by the Eagles players. I thought that's
especially after what some of the Giants guys and the 49ers. Now even I don't know if you saw today, Juju is making fun of James Bradbury,
right,
and every high down the league was like, "Bro, you're trash." So it's not just so it's we were the most humble team. James Bradbury said that was a flag. That was on me. So it's and bro, Ted, I'm trying to tell you, this is the Jalen Hurts thing. We are a reflection of Hurts. No one on that team is going to cry because they know Hurts will not. The first thing he said is, we can either get sad or we can learn. And you can hear the rest of the team falls. And he's
regardless of the outcome. Regardless of the outcome, I think the Eagles really were the most dominant team in the league. I agree with both of you. I don't see any reason why. I don't know if you'll be as dominant, but certainly Bengals-esque. No reason to think the Eagles won't be in the Final Four again. This was a therapy session for you both. I hope it was cathartic.
It was.
But each therapy session comes with a price. And the price that I just thought of now, again, I didn't prepare questions that I'm going to make both of you do. Say one nice thing about the Giants.
See, that's so funny. I was gonna say I'm gonna end this by doing something you think we wouldn't, as I'm gonna say something nice. I mean, that's so funny. I truly, before y'all got whooped by us, not once, not twice, but 3 times, I liked you guys. Do you know who you guys reminded me of this year? Was us last year. No one thought we'd win. We won 9 games. We were scrappy. We weren't going to win anything, but you're laying the bricks. I think the Giants have a great head coach. I'm not going to say I'm up at night, but I'm starting to peek over to make sure, y'all, because you guys have a really good coach. I don't think Jones is the guy, but I think you could win 4 now with him if you build the team. So I actually think the Giants and the Eagles are going to go up. I think Dallas is kind of, they're Dallas. They're going to be here and then flat. And
I like it.
Yeah, I think something I like about the Giants, and I have lived, even though I'm really young, lived in like a few cities, and I know fan bases kind of well. I like how Giants fans are like dedicated, and they know their team, and they're not like dicks, and they also don't soak up the media atmosphere the way Dallas does. You know what I mean? Like,
never.
Just kind of like the fan base in general. And I think Eagles Giants needs to be like a better rivalry. Like, let's get that going again.
Yeah, Dan. I should tell your boys to.
We're going to send all of our Giants fans. We got to step up our rivalry game. Yeah. Tony, Brett, you guys have been great guests. It was a hell of a game. It was a hell of a Super Bowl. I don't see a reason why the Eagles can't run it back. Great team dominance. I'm glad your city's still standing. I want to thank you both for your time today. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, if it was me, I would not be able to go on a podcast and talk. I'd be that upset. And I think I really appreciate you guys coming on just to chat. And Tony, you've had me on your podcast. I'd love to have you both on again. Maybe we'll do this again for the next Giants bye week, as it was called. But gentlemen, thanks so much. This has been the Real People Podcast. Doing the Eagles therapy session. Have a great night, everyone.
Go Birds.